Hey, everybody, welcome. I am so excited to have you here today because we are talking about raising independent kids. We are talking about how to do that in a way that doesn't hover or also doesn't just leave them to their own devices and see what happens, sort of thing. Because there's a balance there, man, and it's hard. It's so hard. I literally am in the throngs of this right now, and I am so happy to be able to be joined by Kristina Heagh-Avritt with us today because she's raised three, right? I'm pretty sure, right? Two very successful kids, and she's been down that road, and she has a background in education too. So we've all, we've got this whole teacher thing going on, but then this is really what we're talking about is parenting today, and that the hard stuff, which is how to raise independent kids, giving them enough rope, but then also holding on to the rope, and then not pulling too tight on the rope. It's such a crazy balance, man. And Kristina is going to share with us today all her amazingness and her experience, not only in just parenting herself, but also in education and in helping other families. So Kristina is one of the founders, her and her husband, of the Vibrant Family Education, and it is so amazing to watch them grow. I've known Kristina for a couple years now, and it has been absolutely phenomenal to watch them just develop, and they're like everywhere now, which is amazing. And I'm so excited because they really are helping a lot of people. So I know you're going to get a lot out of this today. And Kristina, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. I'm super excited that you are sharing with us and that we finally are collaborating in this way because this has been a long time coming, I feel like. And so I want you to just explain a little bit to people about your background and why you love helping parents raise independent kids so much.
Thank you, Cami. I am so glad to be here as well. You are right. It's been a while coming, and you actually got to be on our platform first. You came in and did a summit with us and stuff, which was really cool. I'm just really glad to be here, giving you and your audience a little bit of help as well as we're moving through this. So my background, 27 years as a teacher. So I was in the trenches for 27 years. And then as I was ending my career, it's like, you know what? There are families who need me outside of the school. They need me to help give some of that experience that I had over those 27 years and how I helped and coached families all the way through that. And then, of course, my life experience, like you said, raising two boys of my own. Believe it or not, my boys are in their 30s, so they're older. Exactly. And, just all of these things that I have also learned over the last 3 years growing and developing Vibrant Family Education. So we know that parents are awesome. Parents are doing their best every single day. And there is no shame in asking questions and asking for a little bit of help and support and guidance. And, that's what our kids need. That's what we need as we grow up, sharing our experiences and really helping other people.
Yeah, that's so important, especially with what we're talking about today, with that balance between like, how do we really, as they get, even as little kids, but as they get older too, it gets harder because they're fighting for their independence. And then we're trying to just guide them. But then how much I literally am in the throngs of this right now. Like, it's the hardest thing. So I am super glad to be learning from you today. And I want to know just like, why is it important? Because we all think, I talk to tons of families all over the place, all over the world, really, and that we all want our kids to be independent, kids who are capable. So, why is that so important to us? What does that mean for our kids? I know you've already done it. So, what does that mean for them?
Well, it really means that whenever they step out of our boundaries, either off to college, those big events in high school, after college, right, when they become independent on their own, can they be self-sufficient, right? Not just in academics, because that's important. And there's so much more about being human, right? Can they be independent emotionally? Can they be independent spiritually? Can they be independent with life skills? Can they be independent with all of these things that really make their lives happy and joyful, right? Our job is raising happy, healthy, and successful kids. Well, unless they're independent, that's not going to happen. And like you're saying, you're in the throes of it. And the hard part is us realizing that we're trying to make that happen. And then we pull the strings back way too often.
So true. Oh my gosh. It's like you're in my mind right now. So, the question in my mind is always, am I helping or am I hovering? So this question is huge. Can you give me like an example of how you've dealt with that with your kids and helping other families do that too? That question
Yeah.
of just, are we really helping our kids, or are we hovering too much, and
Mhm.
what is the balance there?
Yeah. When I was in the classroom, that was called a helicopter parent. And those helicopter parents were the ones that did everything for their child. I taught second grade for many, many years, and these parents would walk their child not only to the front door, but down the hallway and into the classroom, more than just the first day or first week of school. They would be carrying the backpack, they would be carrying the coat, they would be putting the lunchbox in the basket. And I finally had to step up and walk up to them and say, "Excuse me, your child is 8 years old, second grade. It is time for them to be responsible." "Oh no, they might forget it, they might lose it," etc. Right? So that is that helicopter parent, way too involved. Now, hovering, I would describe as someone who just stays really, really close, right? And maybe inputting a little bit too often. And then, of course, when we want the independence or the people who are stepping back, it's more about the curiosity and asking questions and seeing what your child is thinking. So instead of giving advice, it's like, what question could I ask that would kind of help guide them, but not really give them the answer and really kind of make them think about it? My husband actually was an expert about it. Many, many times when my boys would get into trouble, he would say something like, "I would really love to help you out in this situation. Would you like to hear my two options and then choose between them? Would that be helpful to you?" And he would always ask that question first, because you've got to kind of get the buy-in, because otherwise you're hovering and you're giving too much information. And then he would give two options, two scenarios, and the boys would have to sit there and think, "Oh, is that on target? Do I like number one or number two? Or maybe did I suddenly come up with number three because of something he said during those descriptions?" Right? So it's really one of those things that when you're in curiosity, instead of that really close hover and giving suggestions all the time, yeah, it creates a different kind of learning and a different kind of independence that can grow from that.
Gosh, this is such a good example, because I've been doing this so much more in the last year with my
Mhm.
son, is not giving necessarily the answer right away, and I'm trying super hard. It's very difficult to not give the answer, right? And like, this is what you need to do, and just ask questions instead. That is the mentoring level
Mhm.
of raising kids, right? So that's something I talk about all the time. It's something I help families do, is to help mentor, right? So becoming a mentor. And that is so essential to raising independent kids. So I love that questioning. Here is a Here's a choice, and here's your other choice. Which choice would you like? Or do you think another choice? And even asking the question, do you want me to give you choices, is
Mhm.
so huge, because sometimes they're like, man, no, I don't want any input. you know, and then you have to like, you're like in your brain, you're in your heart, you're just like, let me tell you.
Exactly. And it's one of those things that we as adults, the same way, right? When we're frustrated about something, sometimes we walk into the room and all we want to do is vent. We don't want our husband to fix it. We don't want our wife to fix it. We don't want our boss to fix it or whatever. It's like, just let me vent for a minute. But then by asking that curious question, it takes it to the next level. They vented, and now are they maybe ready to hear something?
That is such a huge point. And literally, I did this the other day. My son he was grappling with something. He was really fighting for independence for something,
Mhm.
but he had, like, there was a consequence for something that he wasn't doing. And so
Mhm.
he's like really fighting against it. And I was like, okay, and he actually came in, because this is a conversation we have all the time in our house, and this mentoring level conversations. And so he came in and he's like, of course, it was like a 1:30 in the morning. Oh my gosh. And he's
Those
like, I'm
teenagers, right?
right? And he's like, "I'm grappling with 2 sides." He's like, "On one hand, I wanna just be like, 'Fine, that's just the way it is.' But then on the other hand, I wanna just fight for, like, what I think." And I thought that was a really interesting. Oh, I first of all, I wouldn't have said that when I was 17.
Right.
But I thought that was
See, mom,
amazing.
you're doing a great job there.
But then on the other hand, I was like, "Okay, let's calm it down," because what he's really asking for is, he's asking for, what are the 2 sides, right? So I said, "Okay, so let's think about what is the positive and negative of each of those sides." And so he kind of worked him out, and then I gave him a little bit like, "What else?" Like, "What bigger than that could be?" And he was like, "Oh, okay, well, maybe I might lose relationship," and I was like, "Exactly. Okay, let's talk about that." And it was a much different discussion than it would be like, "Well, too bad, sorry," whatever, when he's really fighting for that. So, it's interesting. I love that. So, how do you but in my mind, I'm like, "Just be quiet and go to bed."
Right.
But then that was a really interesting moment for me, and I it was such an important lesson for me about how I could handle things differently. And that's been an evolution. So when I think about stepping back, so how do we step back without stepping back too much?
I think a lot of that has to do with what I actually was thinking about is like, how do we actually start this when they're little, right? How do we
I love
start
this.
this
Yes.
whenever, yeah, they're young enough where you can give them choices, but you really want to make sure those choices are within your parameters as a parent so that they aren't making a choice that's either A, going to harm them, like I'm talking 6, 7 years old when they're really little, right? And then, or you can't deal with because it's going to take them 20 minutes to get ready to get out the door instead of the 2 minutes that you have left, kind of thing, right? Those kinds of choices. So really backing it all the way up to those young choices and really starting with them when they're younger and saying, what are within your parameters, your guidelines, because you are guiding them at this point, 6, 7, 8 years old. They're still really little. They can't make big choices on their own, but also allowing them to fail at that point, right? And let them have the consequences earlier. So we're talking about your teenage son, where consequences are getting bigger and bigger.
Right.
But if we allow them to fail and then have consequences when they're younger, it really, really kind of helps build from there. And one of the things I'd like to talk about a little bit is that whenever we're helping them learn how to like maybe clean the room, a lot of parents are like, wait a second, go clean your room. Well, how have you taught them how to clean their
Oh,
room?
so
Do
true.
they know the expectations? Do they
Yes.
know the parameters? Do they know what it looks like? And one of the things that parents forget is like, well, I did it with them once. They should know. Well, no, when they're little, right? It takes a lot of adjust and practice and things like that. And one of the things I was actually talking with another co-mentor is that what if you help them clean their room and then took a picture of it and put it by their door? So then when you say go clean their room, you're not in there nitpicking about, oh yeah, you haven't put that away, that isn't. Look at the picture. Does your room look like the picture? That's kind of what we agreed to. And then they can work through, right? Again, that gives them the critical skills, the problem solving, more that independence. Oh, I can go look at the picture to help me figure it out, kind of thing. So just that scaffolding, I think, really, really helps, especially when they're little. And then, of course, as they grow, release the reins.
Yeah, this is such a great example. And I use this example all the time about the cleaning the room because we also have to think cognitively and brain development wise. Like they don't necessarily have the executive functioning yet to be able to do those kinds of tasks. So, like, what comes first, what comes next, what comes after that, right? They look at this big pile of stuff in the room and they're like, I don't even know where to start, right? So then they have to think about, what do I do first? And you have to go through that with them sometimes, in several times, in order to do that. And just saying, I go clean your room, is they and you're shocked when they come in 20 minutes later and nothing's changed because they don't know how. I love the idea of the picture and then giving them those choices. So when I'm thinking about too what you said about the getting out the door in 2 minutes. So when you have a choice and you're like, I don't have 20 minutes to have some drawn out like mentor conversation here. Like we got to leave in 2 minutes. So what kind of choices would you give to a little one that you got to leave in 2 minutes and you got to say, look, this is happening?
Well, I think shoes is one of those big ones, right? They don't want to put their shoes on.
Yeah.
Awesome. You have 1 minute to let me help you put your shoes on right now. Or we can put your shoes on in the car. I'll carry you out there. Right? Quick choices. You can get out the door
I love
quicker.
that.
They're working on the shoes in the car, kind of thing, right?
We still get
Yeah.
out the door.
And they get to choose when their shoes go on.
They get to choose when their shoes go on. I love that. That makes so much sense. That's such a great little tiny choice that they get to make. One of the things that you can also do is is giving them a menu of choices, right? So
Mhm.
like you were talking about with the older kids, giving them a menu of choices, like you can do this you can have, and then having them pick what I want to try. So that little tiny shoe thing is a menu of choices, but giving
Mhm.
them even like maybe try a
But it's
couple more.
yeah, and it's age appropriate, right? And then when they get a little
Right.
bit older, then you expand to maybe a couple more choices or a little bit different choices. Yeah, exactly. And whenever you get to teenage years, it's like, this is for your safety. I'm giving you choices because I love you and I want to keep you safe. Can you please either call me when you get there, or can you text me when you get there? Either way, because of your safety, I want to know you're there. So call or text me. What's your choice? It's those kinds of discussions, even as teenagers, as older kiddos, that they need to know where we're coming from. It's not because I want to keep tabs on you necessarily. It's because I'm curious and I want you to be safe.
Right. Absolutely. Plus,
Yeah.
you don't want to lose your mama brain.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And explaining that to you, they can't read your mind,
Yeah,
and if you haven't
exactly.
told them lately that when you travel from place to place, I worry about you because I love you. Can you
Yeah.
please give me some peace of mind? And if you've had these discussions all the way through their childhood, from when they were little, going to the neighbor's door when they were like 8 or 10, right? And then continuing that conversation when they get to be teenagers, then it's not a big shock. Oh, you're just trying to keep tabs on me. It's like, no, I want to know if you're alive or not so alive right now.
Exactly. I need to know if I need to call the police or not. I need to,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So when I'm thinking about the range of progression there, what would it look like to start off like put your shoes on, and then as we get to like even 10, and I'm thinking like middle school age, I feel like they want more independence, but then they're not always capable of that. So because they're still really immature. So how do we build that in so that we're not but we give them space, but we know that they're not ready, but we give them space. Cuz
Yeah.
sometimes it's okay, like you said, to fail.
I think we just as parents really need to make sure we're stepping back because we see them as babies for so long and they
So
needed
true.
everything when they were babies. And then as they grow in independence, we know they're changing, but we forget to change our parenting styles. We forget that, oh my gosh, yeah, they've grown and changed. I need to grow and change. They're old enough to make mistakes and not have big consequences. I need to let them make those mistakes and then come in when it doesn't work out so well and say, how did that work for you? I'm not picking, I'm not, doing, whatever around it. And would you like some choices or would you like some suggestions for next time to see if it can work out a little bit better? I think it's more on us to change our parenting style at that stage than it is for us to really give like different choices and things. Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. And what you're talking about is structuring. So, like, the structure
Mhm.
opens a little
Yeah.
as we get older. So, the structure is very tight. That little box, like you getting in the car right now, you can put your shoes on right now, or you can do it in the car. Like that kind of thing. The structure is very tight. And then we
Mhm.
open up the structure just a hair a little bit as we go. And then we can always see if it's working or not, right?
Yeah.
How much they're
Exactly.
failing. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking about, so when I, I feel like the biggest thing for this is them wanting to take responsibility for things. My friend is so amazing. She's been, I mean, she has 4 kids, 3 of them are boys, and she's been like we've been best friends since high school, and she I remember her telling me, "Oh yeah, the boys are they're putting the Christmas lights up on the house." And I was like, "Huh?" Like she's like, "Oh yeah, we don't know. I don't do that anymore. Like that's not my thing." And I was like,
Hopefully they're at least
"Oh."
teenage. They're a little
No,
bit
one of
older,
them
right?
was at the time. One of them was.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I was like, "Oh, well, golly, I never thought about that before."
Mhm.
She's so good at giving the kids range and letting them
Mhm.
explore that independence. And so I feel like that feeds on itself
Mhm.
to want more. But then sometimes when we do more for them,
Mhm.
that hunger, or we just have low level of learning, and that like that confidence is low. How do
Mhm.
we get them, I put that in quotes for a reason,
Right.
right? Get them to want to take ownership of things.
I think a lot of it goes back to, expectations and ground rules as you're raising them, as you're growing them up, right? I'm going to go back to the classroom just because that works so well there. When I presented my rules and structures at the beginning of the year, it's like, I expect you to do quality work. I expect you to try your hardest in everything that you do. I expect you to try things that are difficult, right? And then when they didn't quite make it, or I saw them struggling, then I would go and build that scaffolding up behind them and around them until they felt confident again, and then step forward. And we can do that in our own homes too, right? When we lay out our expectations, not necessarily rules or discipline, but expectations. What do we really want you to be as you're growing and changing? What does our family want to look like looking from the outside? What are our values? What do we really hold dear? That really helps build that space, that structure, that helps them understand that, oh, I can move forward and I can try because I've got this built around me. And I'm going to steal this from my husband, and I wish he was here to explain it because he does it so much better. But it's kind of like a tomato cage, right? What do we do with our tomatoes when we grow them in the garden? If we leave them on the ground, they spread all over the place and the tomatoes start rotting because they're touching the ground and things like that. But if you wind them through that tomato cage, it helps hold them, but they can still grow out and around. And then you get this beautiful fruit because they've had this structure around them to feel safe enough to grow. And then they aren't boxed in, though, at the same time.
Kudos to Herb. That's an amazing example.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I love
Yeah.
it. And he's going to get mad at me. He's like, wait a minute, I wasn't there to tell about that. I was like, yeah, honey, but I get to steal it from you because
You gave him credit. It's fine. So, yeah, it's such a good example because we're really talking about culture. We're really talking about the culture that you have. And that's something that I really focus on helping families build because it's important to everything. It's important to academics. It's important to who we're trying to raise. And that structure that we're talking about is, and that idea of expectation and the support around it so that if you do fail, all is not
the end of
lost.
the world.
Right. It's not the end of the world. We still love you. We still support you. You're not a failure. Right. And some of our kids
It might
tend to
feel
already
like it
think
a
that.
little bit while they're going through the feels,
Right.
but eventually they'll figure out that, oh no, it wasn't actually the end of the world.
Right. Of course. I mean, we all have that, right? So we all went through that as kids, and first, it's totally normal to have that happen. But and especially in high schoolers, when I taught high school, I mean, man, high schoolers like sometimes, especially freshman, sophomore, maybe a little bit into the junior year, I mean, the world is over when things aren't going right. But when they finally mature out of that, that is something that is beautiful. So if we can support them around that and say, some of my kids when I was teaching, the kids who love me the most were the kids who were failing because I didn't treat them as failures.
Correct.
I treated them the same, just that they weren't living up to what they needed to be doing as a potential. And so that's really something that we can make part of our culture and really transfer that message to our kids a lot. I love that so much. So Kristina, if you could just give one little the biggest parenting tip ever about how we can help our kids become more independent, what would you say?
Wow. Follow that intuition. You know when it's time to let go more, and you know when it's time to hold a little bit tighter. Follow that parenting intuition and make sure that you're checking in with yourself as well as your child. Make sure that, as you're making these changes, how are we doing? Are we doing okay? Am I doing okay? Going, oh no, I can't control this anymore. And then, the kids. So follow that intuition because parents, you really do know. Don't let society and other places tell you the way it's supposed to be. You know your child.
That's such a great tip that we don't think about. If our mama guts, our parenting guts, our daddy guts, they really tell us like what feels off and what kids are ready for. And then sometimes we're not right about that. It's sometimes, but we can feel it within that moment. I know I've felt that on so many times when I've been pushing him for something and then I'm like, "Oh wait, that doesn't feel good. that's something that maybe is me, not him. And then I know that for a minute there, I don't, luckily, I don't feel this too much anymore. But in the last several months, I've been going through like almost like a panic about like, how do I just let him do this when it's so important? It's so, and let him fail this huge thing on his own when he wasn't showing any initiative about it. He's training for his black belt pretest right now, which is
Okay.
a like 2-day event. Like it's huge.
Wow.
It's mentally, the whole point is to like mentally and physically break you down so that you see what you're like and what you can do
Yeah.
beyond that. Like it's huge. And he's been training since he was 5. This is such a huge thing. And it's such, I'm having a panic attack on the inside. but,
But
but
mom, it's his black belt.
I know. It's just because we focus not on the black belt. It's not about that. It's
Right.
really about who the person he's becoming and like
Yeah.
overcoming that ownership and that passion, that identity of, who he wants to be. And so we have a lot of conversations about that even this morning. But
Mhm.
it's just that panic attack, and I finally feel like I'm like, okay, whatever happens, it's okay.
Yeah, exactly. And if he doesn't quite make it this time, he can do it again, right?
Yeah. He has to wait a year, but yes, he has.
Oh, a year. That's quite a while. So
That's
yeah,
what
this is
I'm
pretty
saying.
big then. And if he doesn't make it, he will
Yes.
understand yes or no, maybe
It'll be
why.
fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Thanks, Christina. I
Yes,
need
mom, it'll be fine.
that.
You have built beautiful structures, Cami. Just watching you and the things that you put out and the way you talk about your son, you built in the structures, right?
Oh
Now
yeah.
it's time to let him fly. Let him do
Yes,
this.
it is true. And we do have it's a very mentorship relationship that we have now. It's very mentoring, very like, here's the things that, he listens to, and we listen to podcasts, we read success principle books and leadership books, and we talk about all those things and how it applies to both my example, my life, and then his too. And so
Mhm.
it's really been amazing. It's really been amazing. So, but I think that also, in terms of us talking about wanting our kids to be more independent and having
Mhm.
them want to take ownership, I'm sorry, having them want to take ownership of it, that feeds that, is our example of doing that. And I know you did that with your kids as well. And showing that example of taking responsibility is huge. So,
Mhm. Yeah.
Christina, you're so amazing. Thank you for
Thank
joining
you.
us today. I cannot leave today without letting everybody know how to get in touch with you, because you have such amazingness happening. And so, how do we get in touch with Vibrant Family Education? I know you're on Facebook, and I know that you
Yeah.
are in contact with a lot of people and a lot of parents. So, how do we get that contact with you?
So, like you said, Facebook is there. Kristina Heagh-Avritt, just the way it's spelled here on the screen. You can just look me up, and I'm there. I answer my DMs, etc. The other places, go over to vibrantfamilyeducation.com, my main website. There is my free gift to parents who are there. There is a whole event page of all the different things that Vibrant Family is in the process of making and creating.
I love that so much. Really amazing, Christina. Thank you so much for joining us today. You guys, if you found this at all amazing, if you found something that was usable, if you found something that you were like, I need that right now, please implement it. Please reach out to Christina, reach out to me, and just get that, like Christina said in the beginning, get that coaching, get that, like, ask a question, because we want to answer your questions. I know Christina is all about that. And also, if you resonated with any of this today, please follow us on the podcast. And if you're watching it on YouTube, please subscribe. And if go over to Apple and leave us a little review. I know Christina would appreciate that, because she can use it as well. And then it would help us reach more people, because this is such important information for us moms as we're going through this journey of raising independent kids. It is not easy, man, and we're always second guessing ourselves. So
Mhm.
this is a good one to look back on and think about over and over again, to just, okay, we're here. Like, I'm probably going to watch it again. Because Christina is awesome, and I really appreciate you joining us today, Christina. I know that there are so many parents that you help with all of the things that you do, but especially with this podcast today. So I appreciate you, and I know that we're going to keep working together in the future. This is not the last you're going to see of Christina. So
Exactly. Thank you, Cami, so much. And thank you, audience, for being here.
Absolutely, you guys. Okay, I will talk to you again next week. See you soon.